Hi, my name is Jerry Salazar,
And I'm Devin Martinez.
and welcome to Success-oholic.
Today's video is going to be about turning cold calls into hot sales.
We're going to be covering topics like fear of rejection all the way to scripting, so make sure to stay tuned.
In today's video, we're going to cover cold calling. We're going to teach you how to turn cold leads into hot sales.
One of the many advantages from cold calling is it helps build your communication skills. What does that do? That helps you build that relationship with you and your client. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and tackle our first topic, overcoming the fear of rejection.
So before you actually start cold calling, you want to be in a good mood. Biggest thing that happens is people are scared to pick up that phone. They're scared to bother people. The biggest thing is, if for me in the morning, I get up, I work out, I'm feeling really good, right? I get to the office, I'm drinking my coffee, I've had some breakfast, I'm in a great mood and I'm ready to get these phones going. So the biggest thing is show up with a smile on your face. At the end of the day, you're not bothering these people. We're working on building a business and we're working on helping our clients and potential prospects. So when calling, it's always good to approach it more positive than negative.
So what I personally like to do, I like to hype myself up, right? Treat it like it's game day, right? Listen to a nice little playlist, get me hyped to, start my lead generation process, and put a smile on when you're calling too. That works miracles. I know whenever I'm reaching out to clients and I have a smile on my face, automatically puts me in a good mood. And if you're in a good mood, you could get your client in a good mood because that's attractive. People are, once you're in a good mood, they're going to attract to that and want to project what they're receiving.
Another thing as well is, when you approach it from a positive standpoint, if you're going to approach it and be like, oh, I'm going to get hung up like 20 times today, you're obviously setting yourself up for failure. If I'm going to approach it with, I'm going to make 100 calls today and I'm going to lock down 10 of those people. Out of 100, I'm going to lock down 10. I'm going to get a 10% conversion ratio on this. And in all honesty, in cold calling, when you're calling 100 prospects, that's actually a pretty solid number.
And you have to think to yourself, what exactly is the worst thing could happen? They're just going to say no, right? So is that really that bad of a thing? If they say no, it might be no right now, but who knows? A few days later, a week later, a month later, it might be a yes. So don't let that bring you down.
So bringing it back, what happens during a cold call? You get on the phone immediately, you're like, hey, hello, and then the person's just like, who is this, right? And immediately most people just get kind of like frozen. They get a little freaked out. It's like, hey, my name's Devin. I'm with AEA Realty. And then they're like, nope, I don't want to talk to you. And click, hang up, right? I know when I first started out in cold calling, that was very discouraging. Very discouraging, especially if that's your first phone call of the day. It can definitely discourage you. The biggest thing is that with cold calling, it's all in quantity. It's how many calls you're making. That is where you see the business flow in. It's not necessarily every call is going to be great because you're going to get a lot of bad calls. That's just part of the business. But as we said before, if you approach it with the right mindset, pushing through those hangups, honestly, me and Jerry today, we get excited when someone, curses us out over the phone, for instance. If we get somebody that's really just not having a good day at the end of it, it's not us that they're mad at. Something obviously is happening outside of our control, outside of their control. Whatever's happening in their life is just, we just hit them up at a bad time. Mm-hmm. Doesn't necessarily mean we can't call back in a week or so and they might still be in that said mood. That happens a lot. Right? But the biggest thing with cold calling is, it's not you. It really isn't. Unless they get called by hundreds and hundreds of other people, maybe it is you. But, at that time, they're just tired of getting phone calls. But at the end of the day, we're approaching it from a place of compassion, a place of care, a place of contribution. We want to help these people at the end of the day.
And I'm going to be honest with you guys, man. I was really bad whenever I first started. But how did I get to the point where I was able to show other agents and teach them what I learned and get to the point where I'm the teacher in this position? It just took a lot of repetition. In the words of Weezy F Baby, repetition is the father of learning. So you have to keep on, calling it, be consistent with it. So you look at it as working out, right? Whenever you're working out, you're not going to get to the next level by giving up easily, right? You have to push yourself and get that next rep. Same thing with cold calling. Keep on calling people, right? Even if you're scared, don't even second guess it. Click that button, call the next person. You're going to suck at first, but over time, you're eventually going to get better.
So building the habit with cold calling is super essential because like Jerry said, it's just like working out. You're not going to get big old muscles by doing it. It's going to by doing it one time. You got to repeat it. And throughout that process, I've realized that my communication skills, not only just in business, but at home with my family members, it has increased in I don't know why. I ask better questions. I can approach somebody on the street and talk and have a really good conversation. I can be at a party and I'm normally an introverted kind of guy outside of these walls, but now I can actually hold a decent conversation just through the skills I've created through cold calling. I also wanted to bring up as when I started in cold calling, which was about 6, 7 years ago, the biggest thing for me was always just that picking up the phone. And when I picked up the phone, it was like I would just hope to God that these people didn't answer. And I know a lot of other cold callers in the industry probably relate with that a lot. It was always every time that phone rang, I was hoping that it would just go to voicemail and then I could just easily leave a voicemail, or if that, I probably wouldn't. And that fear is something that held over me for a long time. But throughout the repeating process and repeatedly talking to people, I found out that throughout that I built a skill. The really cool thing about cold calling is that when you're cold calling consistently, building the habit on it, we lead generate between 9 to 11, just straight cold calling prospects. What happens when we do that is it keeps our pipeline so filled that we're consistently busy all the time. So cold calling is actually one of the essential parts of our lead generation within our business.
One of the many advantages of cold calling is it helps build your communication skills. What does that mean? Well, whenever it builds your communication skills, it helps you better build a relationship with you and your client. So a big part of building a relationship is active listening. What is active listening? So a lot of times where we're talking to someone on the phone, we are in our heads. We're thinking about the next thing to say or thinking about how to get them to the appointment or set an appointment, but we're not really listening to them. We need to get out of our head and listen and be present in the conversation.
So how do we show that we're actually listening in these calls? Because it's more than just staying super quiet and just constantly just staying super quiet and letting them talk, right? How am I conveying to them that I am actually listening to them? It's going to be repeating things back, and we call it backtracking in sales. When they say something, I'm going to repeat it back to them and say, "Oh, that's important to you, huh?" Stuff like that. The things like that convey that I am listening. I actually hear you. To the client, it's okay, they are listening to my needs, they actually care about my needs, and then in turn it turns into, okay, I'm listening. It's more than just uh-huh, okay, awesome. Yeah, it's none of those things. It's going to be a lot of the backtracking. Okay, so you're looking for a 3-4 bedroom. Okay, that's important to you. Okay, the Webster area is super important to you. All of these things are going to be super paramount in conversion at the very end of that call.
So the way I like to backtrack, let's say they tell me they're interested in what $150,000 property in the Galveston area on the seawall, which is kind of rare, but we're using this as an example. But I would say, okay, awesome. So you want $150,000 property in Galveston on the seawall. Sound good? And then they say, yeah, awesome. All right, great. So tell me a little bit more, and then we just carry on the conversation. Always make sure you backtrack it. I want to say it makes them feel good on the inside because they're feeling like they're being listened to.
So we can't emphasize enough on how important it is to give the client their undivided attention. It's more than what we've been saying as far as backtracking. Anyone can backtrack, but are you actually listening? I cannot emphasize any more that really give the prospect your undivided attention. There should be nothing blocking you. Of course, you can write down notes. You can take notes. You can type notes. I always recommend to do a pen and paper. It's so much easier when you're writing the things down because then you're actually paying more attention. If you're typing it or anything like that, it doesn't feel as real. I feel like if you write it down, it's so much more real. You're actually putting the pen to paper. You're doing the action and you're showing them that you actually listen. active listening is more than a technique. It shows you actually care. So if you are a
Mm.
caring agent, really, listening should be one of your top skills.
So active listening actually shows that you care. You care about the client, you care about their needs, and you care about giving them the best service possible. So make sure to active listen and make it your number one priority whenever you're speaking to someone on the phone.
So a big thing that you've been hearing consistently in this video is practice and repetition. Is more than, also just making the calls themselves, right? You don't want to use all your bad tries on that. Get it all out. I think before you even get started, a good script practice and role play session is vital before you're cold calling, because then you get the everything greased up, you get the vocal cords all ready, and you're ready to talk to people. So a big thing in role playing is role playing every single day. If you can have time to script practice and role play before your session, it's going to help you maximize everything before starting.
So what I did in order for me to get better at scripting, I would practice with other agents. And what that did, the other agents already know what kind of questions, expireds, FISBOs, those kind of leads ask. So they already know how to practice with you. And I would just do that consistently. And if I didn't have anybody, I would just practice on my own. If I were to go on a long car ride, something like that, I would just, have a conversation by myself in the car while I'm driving to a showing or whatever. But you have to constantly practice. If you don't practice, you're never going to get better, and it's never going to sound natural whenever you actually, practice it with an actual lead.
And most of the time when scripting, the biggest thing is getting over that robotic phase. When you first learn a script, you're sounding very ingenuine, very robotic. And a big thing is just to keep practicing it so that you can get out of that robotic phase and sound more confident. And throughout practicing in the confidence phase, you can slowly turn your personality into that script. From there, the sky's the limit. It's you now. It's you now working that script. You're not even saying it word for word. You're putting your own flair to it. And from there, it's going to turn into a lead converting machine.
So I was telling newer agents, there's two walls whenever it comes to getting good at scripting. First wall you have to get good at the repetition and practicing your script and actually know your script. So once you do that, it's going to sound very robotic. Next thing you want to do, the next wall is going to be the tonality. You want to get good at your tonality. How do you get good at that? Your confidence. And your confidence increases from scripting, from practicing. So once you get good at your tonality, that's when all the good stuff happens. You start setting appointments, you start reaching out to clients. It gets a lot easier to actually prospect. So next up, we're going to go ahead and cover the topic of mastering your tonality. So tonality is so important because you're able to control the conversation all because of your tone. I've had it plenty of times where someone answers the phone and they're a high D personality. They're very assertive, very aggressive in their tone. And I just match that tone, and it kind of like brings them back down to the same level as I am. And then we're able to communicate a lot more effectively because they kind of back off and put their guard down whenever we start talking.
And so whenever it comes down to tonality, and when I'm talking to tonality and when I'm training on tonality, a lot of it always goes to refer the first second of a phone call. Because all of us in the industry know when you're cold calling, the most important time of that cold call is the first 3 seconds of that call. Why is that? It's because immediately upon answering, this person is already wondering who this is. Their walls are up. Their walls are up and they do not know who you are. So how do we bring those walls down? It's through tonality.
One quick tip I would give to you guys is whenever you're calling somebody, let's say their name is Brian, right? Always call them, and instead of introducing yourself right away, say, "Hello, Brian." And automatically what that's going to do, it's going to bring down their walls, and they're going to question themselves, man, am I expecting a call from this individual? And they're more receptive to receiving your information.
And just to elaborate further on that, the psychological part of what Jerry just talked about is when I can approach it and be like Brian ? What that does is it automatically up here sends a message in their head wondering, does this person know me? Does this person, and this person knows my name. Am I expecting somebody? Am I supposed to know who this person is? All of these questions are going through their head at that very moment so fast that they don't have really much time to really think about it. So their walls are, for a moment down. Now from there, I'm able to be, hey, this is Devin with the AskOzzy.com real estate team with AEA Realty out here in Houston, Texas. How you doing today? I just asked them 4 questions in that. Hi, my name is Devin. You know me, Devin. You know Devin, right? You know who I am with the AskOzzy.com real estate team with AEA Realty out here in Houston, Texas. How you doing today? I just asked a bunch of questions. And in that moment, my tone's low, my tone's very, very calm and collected. And that point, this person's like, do I know Devin? Who's the AskOzzy.com real estate team? I am in Houston. And then out of all those questions, they really only know one of the answers to that, which is how they're doing. You say it just like that, they're always going to tell you how they're doing. Hey, I'm doing great, Devin. How are you? And then from there, I'm doing great. Now, at this point, their walls are completely down. You have broken down their mental barriers, and now you're able to get the point across what you want to talk about. So, Brian, the reason I'm calling is because I just saw that you had some real estate interest last year, and I'm just wondering did you ever find something? Did you ever sell that house? Right? And then from there, you're able to get that message that you want across instead of them just immediately hanging up at the voice of, hey, I'm a real estate agent, and it's an easy way of getting around that.
So you already introduced yourself. They brought down their wall. They're more receptive to hearing you out. What's next? I mean, I always advise others to have that confident tone, that assertive tone. If you have that assertive tone, what that does is it gives security to whoever you're talking to that you know what you're talking about. And how do you get that assertive tone? It comes with practice, and you have to constantly practice on your scripting, on getting better on talking to these clients, and of course through trial and error. The more people you call, the more confident you get in your abilities to communicate, and the more assertive your tone is going to be.
Let's be honest. Cold calls aren't always going to be easy. You're going to fumble on your words. You're going to say a lot. I remember when I first started, I would say awesome, awesome all the time. That was my little, I guess you could call it a twitch of some sort. I was just awesome, awesome. Yeah, great. Awesome, awesome. Yeah, awesome, awesome. It was my filler words that I would use all the time through cold calling. We're gonna have a lot of those starting out. The biggest thing is just through repetition and through practice of scripting and putting your personality into that script. You're going to get rid of those ums, you're going to get rid of those hesitations, and you're going to be so confident that you'll be able to talk to these people with certainty.
All right, so how do you practice your tonality? One way I would recommend to you guys to practice your tonality is practicing in the mirror. So always make sure it's all about body language, right? So if you're slouched, have your shoulders down, not really in a good mood, it's not going to go well, right? So you have to look at yourself, look at your body language. As you, improve your body language, your tonality is going to go up. You're going to be able to script a lot better. So I would recommend practicing in front of a mirror. Practice your tonality, saying everything assertively, and communicating with the potential prospect.
And I know when practicing scripts, a big thing for me was I was a little afraid starting out, and I would work around numerous workplaces, and I'd just be kind of afraid to practice with certain people. An easier way, if you're kind of in that same realm, is practice with your spouse, practice with your family. Easy way of just getting a person that's not really in that space, get a real prospect in example, and pretty much practice with them. And a big thing with talking with body language. Body language speaks a lot. I know that I can bring a big emphasis on just moving my hands. Me and Jerry talk a lot with our hands, and it helps our tonality. That's why we wear headsets when we're talking on the phone, because I need to be standing up. I need to be walking around. I need to be able to move. I need to be able to really just emphasize on everything I'm saying, because if I want to convey my message, if I want to convey what I'm trying to bring you, then and that's the best way in my experience of how I've done. When you're in the process of cold calling or just talking to a prospect in general, a big thing is who's talking the most. Is it you? Are you talking the most? Are you talking about how, our service is like this? We've sold over so-and-so amount of houses. You're talking, yapping, and you're not giving the potential prospect any time to talk. And a big thing that we can tell that we're kind of losing them is if they're just giving us one-word answers. Yes, no, I don't know. If you're getting those kind of answers, you're kind of losing it. So the biggest thing is to keep the prospect talking. Whoever's talking the most is getting the most value. Now, who in this conversation do you want to have the most value? The prospect. So how do we do that? Through a line of questioning that is building rapport consistently, Rolodexing questions. Oh, okay, so you're looking in this area. Oh, how long have you been looking in this area? What's so important about this area that's interesting to you? Oh, okay. And Rolodex it. Every answer they give you, open it up with another question. Have them talking. Have them talking your ear off. It doesn't matter. It's going to help you convert this lead at the very end.
Always remember, guys, it's always about them, not you. They don't want to hear you're the greatest agent out there. You know, you close this amount of deals on a yearly basis. They don't care about that. They're in a place of distress. They're panicking. They're stressed out. They want to purchase their new home. It's scary for them. Try to aid and cater to them, because at the end of the day, it's our duty to make sure they get the best service possible.
If you approach the conversation coming from contribution, it's going to show your greatness all in all. The action is going to prove how great of an agent you are. Just in the initial phone call, you don't even have to see this person yet, and they already know this person is probably the real deal. And when they meet you, if you're as great as an agent as you come off to be, you're going to show them right then and there.
So, I mean, a lot of times whenever, let's say I'm in a cold calling session and I start, getting a little bit lazy, feeling like I don't want to do it, I notice I have to get energized, right? I have to get up, get active. So what I do, I get up and start walking around, man. I start calling people while I'm walking around. I want to get out of that funk, right? I want to put myself in the right mindset, like we spoke about earlier, and get in that active mindset, that motivated mindset. So do different tips and tricks. Be active whenever you're calling people and you notice yourself, getting less, your mindset is changing a little bit.
Little thing too is if you're in an office space that, you're around to other people doing the same thing as you have cold callers to your left, cold callers to your right. Everyone's basically in that same mojo of calling. I know for a fact when me and Jerry sit next to each other, we're joking, we're having little banter in between our cold calls, and we're making jokes, cracking jokes, laughing, and that helps with the morale of this session. I can't name a number of times that me and Jerry have went into a cold call laughing. It's like we just got done laughing our ass off, and then out of nowhere it's just like, oh hey, what's up? Hey, Sandra, hi, how are you doing today? And it brings that energy. I'm bringing that energy into this call, and it almost excites me, and it gets the prospect excited too.
So in conclusion, guys, those are the steps that you need to take to get over the fear of rejection, mastering tonality, and actively listening to a conversation to build your relationship with your leads.
Now take this time after watching this video to really embrace and really take serious in implementing cold calling into your business. A lot of people hope for the day that they just get a call that someone is ready. Unfortunately, only in a perfect world does that make sense. With cold calling, you will be able to fill your pipeline to funnel out as many leads and keep consistent growth in your business.
So following these steps, I was able to build a strong business. I was able to fill my pipeline, and I was able to reap the rewards from constantly building a relationship with the leads that I'm following up with.
So we hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Feel free to like this video. Go ahead and subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Hit that notification bell so that you can be notified anytime we post more videos. We're always going to be posting more videos once a week talking about real estate success in order to help you build wealth for you and your family.
Thank you for watching, guys, and stay tuned for our next video.